We are looking at potentially the darkest and most manipulative chapter in the entire history of Little People, Big World. For years, fans have speculated about the true nature of the relationship between Matt Roloff and Caryn Chandler. But what we are discussing today goes beyond simple gold digging or farm politics. We are talking about an alleged deception so calculated, so emotionally devastating, and so sociopathic that it changes everything we thought we knew about the dynamic at Roloff Farms. We are looking at reports of a fake pregnancy, a trap designed to force a wedding ring onto a finger, and a staged tragedy used to cement a bond founded on lies. This is the story of the miracle baby that never existed, the grief that was manufactured for sympathy, and the digital footprint that ultimately exposed the entire charade. If these exclusive theories and insider whispers are true, Matt Roloff is not just a victim of a bad relationship. He is the victim of psychological warfare. Before we dive into the evidence that is currently shaking the foundations of the Roloff family, I need you to take a split second to hit that like button and smash subscribe to LPBW Update. We are the only channel brave enough to bring you the stories that the network tries to bury, and you do not want to miss the fallout from this investigation. Join our community now so you don't miss a single update as this story unfolds. The timeline of this alleged deception begins with a stalling relationship. We have all watched the show. We have seen the cracks forming. For seasons, the narrative has been about the farm, the sale, and the feud with Zach and Tori. But in the background, a different tension was brewing. Insiders suggest that Caryn was growing increasingly frustrated with her status. She was the girlfriend, the companion, the manager, but she was not the wife. With Matt's health fluctuating and the future of the estate in limbo, the pressure to secure a legal and binding commitment was at an all-time high. But Matt, burned by a long divorce and consumed by business, was dragging his feet. He was comfortable. He didn't need a marriage license to be happy. Caryn, according to these exclusive theories, needed leverage. She needed something that would override Matt's hesitation, something that would force him to look at the future not as a businessman, but as a father and a provider once again. She needed a miracle. The theory suggests that the plan was hatched during a particularly rocky patch in their relationship. Rumors were swirling that Matt was considering a break or at least a step back to focus on mending bridges with his children. A breakup would mean Caryn loses everything: the fame, the access to the farm's resources, and the lifestyle she had become accustomed to. So she dropped the bomb. The announcement was calculated for maximum emotional impact. Picture the scene: a quiet evening at the farmhouse, the cameras are down, and Caryn tearfully tells Matt that against all odds at their age, they are expecting. For Matt, this news would be a shock, but a joyous one. Matt has always defined himself by his legacy. A new child, a miracle baby, offers a fresh start. It's a second chance to get parenting right, away from the drama of the twins and the conflict with Amy. It appeals to his ego and his desire to leave a mark on the world. Overjoyed and overwhelmed by the prospect of a new life, the hesitation vanishes. The insider reports claim that Matt proposed almost immediately after the pregnancy announcement. The trap had snapped shut. The ring was on her finger, not because of a romantic epiphany, but because of a biological imperative. He was doing the right thing. The family's reaction, however, was the first crack in the armor. When the news was broken to the rest of the Roloffs, the atmosphere was reportedly thick with tension. Publicly, they had to be supportive. Privately, the skepticism was rampant. Zach and Tori, who have been through the ringer with their own pregnancies and health scares, were reportedly shocked. The biology of it seemed improbable, though not impossible. But it was the timing that raised red flags. Just as the family was pulling away from Caryn, just as Matt seemed to be cooling off, suddenly there was a baby on the way. It felt too convenient. Amy, of course, was blindsided but kept her distance. But it was Tori, with her mother's intuition and her sharp eye for detail, who felt a pit in her stomach. Something about Caryn's demeanor didn't sit right. To sell the lie, Caryn had to commit to the performance of a lifetime. And according to sources, she played the part perfectly. The complaints of morning sickness were timed to interrupt conversations about the farm sale. The fatigue was used as an excuse to get out of family events she didn't want to attend. She began wearing looser clothing, rubbing her stomach subconsciously while filming, and talking about nursery themes. She orchestrated cravings that sent Matt driving into town late at night, further solidifying his role as the doting protector. Every symptom was a brick in the wall she was building around Matt. She was isolating him in a bubble of impending fatherhood. They bonded over names, over future plans, over how this child would unite the family. Matt was hooked. He was more in love, or perhaps more dependent than he had ever been. But a fake pregnancy has a ticking clock. You can only fake a baby bump for so long before the physical reality becomes undeniable. Caryn knew she could never actually produce a child. The end game was never to have a baby. The end game was the ring. Once the engagement was public, once the wedding planning had started, the baby had served its purpose. In fact, the baby was now a liability. She needed an exit strategy. This is where the narrative takes a turn towards the truly macabre. The theory posits that Caryn planned the miscarriage from day one. It was the second half of the script. The tragedy was staged a few months later. A sudden medical crisis, a rush trip to the doctor where Matt wasn't allowed in the room, or perhaps a claim of bleeding while she was alone. She returned to Matt, devastated, delivering the news that there was no heartbeat. The genius of this cruelty is in how it manipulated Matt's emotions. Instead of being angry or suspicious, Matt was crushed, he was heartbroken, and in his grief, he turned to the only person who could understand his pain, Caryn. The shared trauma of losing the miracle baby didn't drive them apart, it welded them together. It created an us against the world dynamic. Matt felt he had to be strong for her. He felt he owed her his devotion because she had carried his child, however briefly. The wedding plans weren't canceled, they were accelerated. Life is short, they reasoned. We need to cherish what we have. The fake death of a non-existent child secured her position as the future Mrs. Roloff more effectively than the pregnancy ever could. For a while, it seemed like the perfect crime. Matt was sympathetic, the public was supportive, and the family, despite their previous skepticism, had to offer their condolences. You cannot question a grieving mother. It is the ultimate shield. Caryn walked around the farm in a haze of performed sorrow, accepting sympathy flowers from the very people she was deceiving. But she made one critical error. In the modern age, nothing is truly hidden, and digital footprints are impossible to erase completely. The unraveling of this web of lies began with a simple, innocent request from Tori. Tori Roloff is a mother. She knows the milestones. She knows the excitement of that first grainy black and white image. During the brief period where Caryn was still pregnant, Tori had asked to see the ultrasound. It's a standard question between women in the family. Let me see the baby. Caryn, likely panic-stricken but needing to maintain the ruse, couldn't simply say no. That would be suspicious. So she claimed she had it on her phone. She quickly flashed a picture during a gathering, but Tori, wanting a better look or perhaps wanting to show Zach later, asked for a copy. Reluctantly, Caryn emailed the image to Tori. That email was the smoking gun. When Tori opened the file on her computer, away from the chaotic energy of the family gathering, she paused. She is a photographer. She understands images. She understands resolution, lighting, and composition. Something about the ultrasound photo looked off. It was too perfect. The contrast was too sharp in some places and too blurry in others. The data on the file didn't seem to match the timeline of when the appointment was supposed to be. It was a gut feeling, a nagging suspicion that this image didn't look like the ultrasound she had received for her own children. Driven by a mix of curiosity and a darkening suspicion, Tori did something that would blow the lid off the entire scheme. She saved the image to her desktop and opened a reverse image search engine. It's a tool photographers use to see if their work is being stolen, but in this case, it was used to verify the existence of a family member. She dragged the ultrasound photo into the search bar and hit enter. The investigation that would usually take a private eye weeks was accomplished by an algorithm in seconds. The results on the screen were chilling. The exact same image, pixel for pixel, shadow for shadow, populated the search results, but it wasn't from a local Oregon clinic. It wasn't from Caryn's medical file. The image appeared on a stock photography website. It was titled 12-Week Ultrasound Fetus Profile. Even worse, the search brought up dozens of other hits. The image had been used on Prank Your Partner websites. It was on blogs discussing false positive jokes. It was a generic, royalty-free image available to anyone with an internet connection. One version of the image even had a watermark that said for novelty use only. Tori sat there staring at the screen, the digital proof of a sociopathic lie glowing back at her. The implications were terrifying. If the ultrasound was fake, the pregnancy was fake. If the pregnancy was fake, the miscarriage was fake. The grief Matt was suffering, the sympathy the family was pouring out, the entire emotional landscape of the past few months was a fabrication. Caryn hadn't just told a lie. She had constructed a false reality. She had played God with life and death to secure a wedding ring. But Tori knew she needed more than just a stock photo to confront Matt. Matt is a stubborn man. He is fiercely loyal to Caryn. If Tori just showed him a Google search, Caryn could spin it. She could claim she lost the real photo and used a stock one to represent it, or that the clinic sent the wrong file. Tori needed corroboration. She needed to dismantle the timeline. She enlisted Zach, and together they started to look closer at the dates. They looked at the doctor's appointments Caryn claimed to have attended. This is where the insider reports get truly damning. The theory alleges that while Caryn was supposedly at the OBGYN, getting checkups or having blood work done, she was actually elsewhere. Zach and Tori, using their knowledge of the area and perhaps some shared family calendar access or social media cross-referencing, began to spot inconsistencies. On the day of the supposed anatomy scan, a receipt or a tagged photo surfaced showing Caryn at a luxury spa. On the day of another crucial medical appointment, she was spotted shopping. The dates didn't line up. The medical crisis that led to the miscarriage coincided perfectly with a weekend where Matt was out of town, meaning there were no witnesses to the actual event. The picture that emerged was one of cold, calculated manipulation. Every tear, every nauseous morning, every sad look across the dinner table was a performance piece. The level of psychopathy required to fake a miscarriage, to accept condolences for a dead baby that never existed, is hard to comprehend. It suggests a person who views human emotions as tools to be used, not feelings to be respected. The tension in the Roloff family was already high, but this discovery turned it into a powder keg. Tori and Zach were now holding a grenade. They had to decide how to detonate it. Do they go to Amy? No, that would look like spite. Do they go to the producers? No, that would turn a family tragedy into a storyline. They had to go to Matt. They had to break his heart to save him. The confrontation, as described by our sources, was not a screaming match. It was a quiet, devastating intervention. Zach and Tori went to the big house when Caryn was away. They sat Matt down. Matt, still grieving, still fragile, likely thought they were coming to offer more support or perhaps to discuss the farm. Instead, Tori opened her laptop. She didn't say a word initially. She just showed him the email Caryn sent. Then she showed him the search results. She showed him the stock photo website. She clicked back and forth, overlaying the images so there could be no mistake. They were identical. Matt reportedly stared at the screen for a long time. Denial is a powerful thing. His brain tried to find a logical explanation. Maybe the doctor used a stock image. Maybe there was a mistake. But then Zach laid out the timeline, the spa days during doctor appointments, the lack of any physical evidence other than this one downloaded picture, the convenient timing of the pregnancy, and the convenient timing of the miscarriage. The silence in the room was deafening. You could practically hear the shattering of Matt's reality. The woman he loved, the woman he was planning to marry, hadn't just lied about money or the farm. She had lied about their child. She had mocked his grief. This is the turning point of the entire LPBW saga. This is the moment where the insider theory suggests Matt's demeanor changed forever. If you watch the recent seasons closely, you see a change in his eyes. You see a man who is going through the motions. Is it possible that he knows? Is it possible that the confrontation happened and he chose to stay silent to protect the brand, or out of fear of being humiliated publicly? Or are we watching a man who is currently living with a stranger, totally unaware that the ghost of the child he mourns was downloaded from a stock image website? The complexity of this deception cannot be overstated. We have to analyze the psychological profile of someone who would do this. To fake a pregnancy is one thing. It's a desperate attempt to hold on to a partner. But to fake a miscarriage is a significant escalation. It weaponizes empathy. It forces the partner to stay not out of love, but out of guilt and shared trauma. It is a trap that is almost impossible to escape without looking like a monster. If Matt were to leave Caryn shortly after she lost their baby, he would be the villain. He would be the heartless man abandoning his grieving fiancée. Caryn had checkmated him. She created a scenario where he could not leave her. But the digital age is the enemy of the liar. Tori's savvy use of technology brought the whole house of cards down. It highlights the generational divide in the family. Caryn, operating on an older playbook of deception, didn't anticipate that a simple image file contained metadata, or that image recognition software is available to everyone. She thought a blurry photo on a phone screen was enough proof. She underestimated Tori. As we move deeper into this analysis, we need to look at the fallout. How does this impact the farm sale? If Matt knows Caryn is capable of this, can he trust her with his estate? Can he trust her around his grandchildren? The theory suggests that this revelation is the real reason for the deep freeze between Zach, Tori, and Matt Caryn. It's not just about the farm price. It's moral disgust. How can Tori let her children be around a woman who faked the existence of a cousin? How can they break bread with someone who enacted such a cruel theater of grief? The viewers have sensed the darkness. We have felt that the arguments on the show were about something deeper than just property lines. This pregnancy lie theory explains the visceral anger we see from Zach. It explains the coldness from Tori. They aren't just mad about a deal falling through. They are disgusted by the character of the woman running their father's life. And Matt is the tragic figure in the middle, potentially holding on to a lie because the truth is too painful to admit. The evidence of the receipts is another crucial element. Our sources claim that the doctor's appointment receipts were actually key in the timeline. When cross-referenced with Caryn's credit card statements, which Matt, as the financier of their shared life, had access to, the locations didn't match the stories. A charge at a boutique in Portland at the exact time she was supposed to be hearing a heartbeat. A lunch bill for two at a winery when she was supposed to be on bed rest. The carelessness of the deception suggests she thought Matt was too blind or too trusting to ever check. It shows a lack of respect for his intelligence. We also have to consider the role of the production crew. Did they know reality TV producers are everywhere? They have microphones on the cast members. They verify schedules. It is highly likely that the crew suspected something. There are whispers that production was frustrated because they couldn't film the medical appointments. Caryn always had an excuse for why cameras weren't allowed. HIPAA regulations, she would say, or it's too personal. In reality, she couldn't film them because they didn't exist. The producers may have been sitting on this secret, waiting for it to explode, or perhaps they were kept in the dark as well, manipulated just like Matt. The Miracle Baby narrative was the perfect storyline for a dying show. It brought ratings, it brought interest, and when the miscarriage happened, it brought a wave of sympathy from the audience. We, the viewers, were duped too. We sent our thoughts and prayers. We defended Caryn against the haters. We felt bad for Matt. To find out now that our empathy was harvested for a storyline and a wedding ring is a betrayal of the audience. In the next part of this deep dive, we are going to explore the specific aftermath of the confrontation. We will discuss the theories on how Matt reacted behind closed doors, the ultimatum he may have given, and why they are still together, or appear to be, despite this shattering revelation. We will look at the body language in recent episodes that confirms the trust is gone. We will also discuss the legal implications if they do marry and this fraud is proven. Could it be grounds for annulment? The deception goes deep and the consequences are far-reaching. We need to talk about the psychological toll on Matt. Imagine finding out the grief you sat with for months was a lie. Imagine realizing the woman sleeping next to you is capable of watching you cry over a stock photo. It is the stuff of nightmares. It is a betrayal that cuts to the core of human connection. The pregnancy lie isn't just a theory. It's a lens through which the last few years of Little People, Big World suddenly make sense. The hostility, the silence, the weird vibes, it all fits. Zach and Tori aren't being brats. They are the whistleblowers. They are the ones refusing to normalize sociopathic behavior. Stay tuned because we are only halfway down the rabbit hole. The cover-up is often worse than the crime, and what happened after the lie was exposed is even more shocking. We will expose the damage control, the hush money theories, and the desperate attempt to keep the show going despite the rot at its center. According to the exclusive theories we are exploring, the moments following the revelation were chaotic. When Tori and Zach presented the evidence to Matt, the silence was reportedly broken not by anger, but by a terrifying calmness. Matt Roloff is a businessman. He is a negotiator. He processes information like a computer. Faced with the undeniable proof that his fiancée had fabricated a life and a death, he didn't scream. He shut down. Insider reports suggest that Matt went into a state of shock. He asked Zach and Tori to leave, needing to process the betrayal alone. But the confrontation with Caryn that followed is where the true manipulation skills were put to the test. The theory goes that when Matt confronted Caryn with the stock photo and the timeline discrepancies, she didn't deny it. She couldn't. The digital proof was absolute. Instead, she pivoted. She reportedly broke down, not in repentance, but in a performance of victimhood. She allegedly claimed she did it for him. She spun a narrative that she wanted to give him a child so badly, and when she thought she might be pregnant, she panicked and kept the lie going because she saw how happy it made him. She claimed she couldn't bear to break his heart with the truth, so she staged the miscarriage to let him down easy. She turned her sociopathic deception into an act of twisted love. "I just wanted you to be happy," became the mantra. She weaponized his own desires against him, making him feel guilty for her lies. This is a classic gaslighting technique. By framing the lie as a desperate attempt to please him, she confused his moral compass. Matt, already vulnerable and perhaps terrified of being alone at his age, was caught in a bind. If he kicked her out, the scandal would be public. Everyone would know he was duped. The humiliation would be global. His reputation as a shrewd businessman would be destroyed. Who gets conned into a fake pregnancy in their 50s? Caryn knew that Matt's pride was his Achilles heel. She banked on the fact that he would rather live with the lie than face the public embarrassment of the truth. Furthermore, we have to consider the business of the relationship. Matt and Caryn are not just a romantic couple. They are a brand. They are filming a show. A breakup of this magnitude would derail the production schedule. It would breach contracts. There are insiders who believe that production might have stepped in to mediate, not to fix the relationship, but to salvage the season. Keep it together for the cameras is a powerful motivator when millions of dollars are on the line. The theory suggests that Matt and Caryn entered into a cold war. They would remain a couple for the public, but behind closed doors, the dynamic had shifted fundamentally. The trust was gone. The power dynamic had flipped. Matt now knew who she really was, but he was trapped by the circumstances she created. This explains the deep freeze between the Roloff kids and Caryn. Zach and Tori, having exposed the lie, could not stomach the charade. They saw their father accepting the unacceptable. To them, Matt's refusal to leave Caryn was a betrayal of the family values. It wasn't just about the farm negotiation. It was about morality. How could they let their children around a woman who faked a pregnancy? It's dangerous behavior. It signals a detachment from reality. The feud that was blamed on farm negotiations was actually a cover story. It is much easier to tell the public we are fighting over money than to say we are fighting because my father's girlfriend faked a baby. The farm dispute became the convenient scapegoat for a much darker family secret. Let's look at the behavior in the episodes following this alleged timeline. Watch Matt's eyes. He seems tired, resigned. He often defers to Caryn, not out of love, but perhaps out of exhaustion or fear of what else she might do or leak. Caryn, on the other hand, became more aggressive in her commentary. She started inserting herself more into the family drama, driving the wedge deeper between Matt and his kids. Why? Because the kids are the threat. The kids know the truth. By isolating Matt from Zach and Tori, she protects her position. If Matt is alone, he needs her. If Matt reconciles with his kids, the pregnancy lie is constantly in the room. Her survival strategy depends on the destruction of the father-son bond. The digital slip-up didn't just expose the pregnancy, it exposed a pattern. Fans have since started digging into other aspects of Caryn's life. There are theories about her tenure as the farm manager. If she could fake a pregnancy, what could she fake in the ledgers? What could she fake in the personnel files? The credibility of everything she has ever touched is now in question. The reverse image search was the thread that unraveled the sweater. We also need to discuss the hush money theory. Some insiders speculate that Matt, in an effort to buy peace or perhaps to keep Caryn from selling her story to the tabloids, has increased her financial stake in his life. The new house being built, the trips, these might be the price of silence. Caryn holds the cards because she knows where the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking. She knows the secrets of the farm, the finances, and the family. If Matt tries to leave her, she could burn the whole place down. The fake pregnancy was the hook. The blackmail is the line and sinker. Tori's role in this cannot be understated. She is the hero of this narrative. In a world of reality TV where everything is scripted and fake, she used a digital tool to find the truth. Her refusal to back down, her refusal to let the lie stand, shows her integrity, but it also cost her the relationship with Matt. Matt, in his twisted logic, might blame the messenger. By exposing the lie, Tori destroyed the illusion of happiness Matt was living in. Sometimes people hate you for showing them the truth because the lie was more comfortable. Matt might resent Tori for taking away his miracle baby, even if the baby never existed. He might resent her for forcing him to see Caryn's true face. Now, consider the silence of the other family members. Amy Roloff. Does she know? If Zach and Tori found out, it is highly probable they told Amy. This would explain Amy's absolute refusal to engage with Caryn on any deep level. Amy has always been suspicious of Caryn, dating back to the affair allegations. But this confirms every worst fear Amy ever had. It vindicates her. But Amy, surprisingly, has stayed relatively quiet. Why? Perhaps to protect the kids. Perhaps she knows that dropping this nuclear bomb would destroy the show that supports her grandchildren. It's a delicate balance of power and secrets. The stock photo detail is so specific, so embarrassing, that it rings true. It's the kind of mistake a non-digital native makes. A younger person would have known to Photoshop the image, to change the metadata, to make it unique. Caryn's generation treats the internet differently. She thought Google image search was a one-way street. She finds images, but people can't find where she got them. That technological illiteracy was her downfall. It's a cautionary tale for any deceiver in the digital age. The internet never forgets, and it is always watching. As we look toward the future of LPBW, this theory casts a long shadow. If the show continues, we are watching a psychological thriller, not a reality show. We are watching two people, Matt and Caryn, locked in a dance of mutual destruction. He knows she's a liar. She knows he's too weak to leave. They smile for the cameras, talk about the dream home, but the foundation is built on a stock photo of a stranger's ultrasound. There is also the medical crisis aspect to revisit. The fake miscarriage. This is the most unforgivable part. Miscarriage is a deep, profound trauma that affects millions of women. To cosplay that trauma for personal gain is a level of moral bankruptcy that is hard to fathom. If this theory is true, Caryn didn't just lie to Matt. She insulted every woman who has ever lost a child. She used the tragedy as a plot device. And Matt, by staying with her, is complicit in that insult. This is why the fan base has turned so violently against them. Even without the concrete proof being public, the audience senses the inauthenticity. We can smell the deception. What about the legal angle? If they do get married and Matt passes away, Caryn inherits a fortune. But if the marriage was induced by fraud, by a pregnancy that forced the proposal, could the children contest the will? Could Zach and Jeremy use the proof of the fake pregnancy to argue that their father was under undue influence? The digital evidence Tori found could one day be Exhibit A in a courtroom battle for Roloff Farms. The screenshot of that stock photo could be worth millions of dollars. It proves a pattern of manipulation that could invalidate contracts and wills. The tragedy of Matt Roloff is that he spent his life building a physical empire, the farm, the structures, the land, but allowed his emotional empire to be conquered by a lie. He built a castle, but let a Trojan horse in the front gate. The miracle baby was the Trojan horse. It carried the promise of a future, but it was filled with deceit. We must also ask, are there others? Did Caryn try this before, or was this a specific plan tailored for Matt's vulnerabilities? The specific targeting of his desire for legacy suggests a predator who studied her prey. She knew exactly what button to push. She didn't fake a terminal illness, which would garner sympathy, but not a long-term commitment. She faked a life, which requires marriage and stability. It was a strategic masterstroke, ruined only by the existence of reverse image search technology. So, where do we go from here? As viewers, we need to watch with our eyes wide open. When you see Caryn crying on screen, ask yourself, is this real, or is this the same performance she gave when she lost the baby? When you see Matt defending her, ask yourself, is this love, or is this a hostage situation? The pregnancy lie changes the genre of Little People, Big World from a family documentary to a crime drama. The insider reports are growing louder. The whispers are becoming shouts. The novelty use only watermark on that ultrasound photo is the stain that will never wash out. It is the permanent mark of betrayal. Matt Roloff wanted a wedding. He wanted a companion. He wanted a fresh start. Instead, he got a stock photo in a trap. If you believe that the truth needs to come out, if you think Matt deserves to be free of this manipulation, or even if you think he is getting what he deserves for betraying his family, you need to share this video. The algorithm tries to hide these theories, but the fans deserve to know. The pieces fit too perfectly to be ignored. The timeline, the behavior, the receipts, and the digital slip-up, it all points to one conclusion. The pregnancy was a lie. The miscarriage was a lie. The relationship is a lie. Make sure you are subscribed to LPBW Update. We will keep digging. We will keep cross-referencing dates. We will find the truth buried under the NDA agreements and the producer interference. This investigation is far from over. Until next time, keep your eyes open because on reality TV, nothing is real, especially the miracles.